Welcome in. This conversation is with Paige Spiranac. She is one of the most influential people in the industry of golf. Millions of followers, whether it be Twitter X, whether it be Instagram. She has her own website. She has tons of corporate partners. Here's my conversation with her about her entire journey to where she sits now. Good morning. How you feeling?
I'm surviving. I'm happy to be here, though, so we're excited.
Well, thanks for doing this. The fact that somebody who is in the industry of golf, who's not the #1 ranked player in the world, can go down Radio Row at the Super Bowl and everybody wants to talk to her, speaks to your popularity. Was that in any way overwhelming, or were you like, God, this is a ton of fun? No, this is not exhausting.
It's so funny. When I started doing this almost 10 years ago now, I never thought that I would be in this position. And I am so incredibly blessed to do what I do. I have the most amazing job and I never take it for granted. And so walking down Radio Row and talking to everyone, it was so exciting. And I just have these pinch me moments where I'm like, I can't believe that I get to do this. This is my job, and I'm so lucky that I have the community that I have that supports me.
You know, Paige, a lot of people may know your background, but let me share a little bit. Look, you come from a family of high achievers. Your dad played on a national championship college football team at the University of Pittsburgh with Tony Dorsett, 1976. Your mom was a ballerina. Your sister was a track athlete at the collegiate level. Obviously, you were a college golfer. Do you remember at a young age having a competitive bent, that you naturally were competitive, or was it the environment that you felt like you needed to be just to kind of survive the household that you were growing up in?
I've always been really naturally athletic, and I come from a big sports family, and so it was just a part of our everyday lives. But I didn't really have the competitiveness of, my parents or even my sister. But sports came relatively easy to me. Even when I was in preschool, I was hanging on the jungle gym and the monkey bars. And so that's why I got put into gymnastics, because I was just throwing my body around everywhere. And I've always had the physical ability to compete at a high level, but the competitiveness and the mental fortitude to be able to compete at that level, I never had. And so that was something that I always struggled with, because I could do it, but with my mind, it wouldn't allow me to compete at that highest level, which was always something that was a little bit difficult for me.
You know, you mentioned gymnastics, and you were a very good gymnast. You dealt with some serious injury, and then you narrowed the focus to the game of golf. Do you feel at a young age that you were more confident in gymnastics than you were in golf, or was it the other way around?
I was never a really self-assured, confident little kid. I was unbelievably shy, very introverted, and I just had a lot of physical ability to be able to do these things. And so when I quit gymnastics, I fractured my kneecap twice, and I just didn't really love it. It is unbelievably challenging. At 10 years old, I was in the gym 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it was just exhausting. And so I first tried out tennis. My aunt was a professional tennis player after gymnastics, and I was like, you know what, that's not for me. It's a little too physical after gymnastics. And so my dad, who isn't the biggest golfer, but just thought that my just who I was as a person would fit the game of golf, since it is an individual sport and I could just kind of be on my own. And I fell in love with it right away, and I picked it up very quickly and started competing, within less than a year. And I wanted to play pro. I didn't even want to go to college. But again, the mental aspect of golf, which is the most challenging sport when it comes to, being mentally tough, was so hard on me. And I just could never do it when the pressure was on. And it was just so frustrating, because I love the game. I loved practicing. I worked so hard at it, but then it was go time, and I would be holding the club on the first tee and be like, what is this? I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I would absolutely crumble. And so I would say gymnastics was probably easier because there's less time to think and you're more reactive, but I loved golf so much more than gymnastics.
How did you handle when you got to that level where you achieve in college, you guys win a conference championship at San Diego State, you turn professional, you have some good moments, but you face what all athletes do, some sooner than others, and that's your own mortality as an athlete. Did you manage that? Did you manage it fairly well? Did it take time before you made what was your pivot to the next chapter of your life? Did you struggle with that at all?
I mean, absolutely. I finished out my college career at San Diego State, and I didn't love it. I really struggled throughout college just with my relationship with the game of golf and competition. And so I took about 2 weeks off, and I said, I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a break. And I was talking to my parents, and they just said, let's just give it 1 year. Let's try to play professionally for 1 year. Problem was that I didn't have the financial backing to be able to play professionally. And so I was running junior golf clinics and caddying. And after I played the Colorado State Open, I looked at my phone. I was getting a ton of notifications from my friends, and they were like, hey, you're going viral right now. And this was at a time when this wasn't normal. Now you have people going viral every single day. But back in 2015, this was unheard of. And so I went from having 500 followers to 100,000 followers overnight. And my life completely changed. And I then had all of these new opportunities. And because I was struggling financially, I was like, wait, I can leverage this to finance my golf career. And so that's how my media career started, and also my professional golf career. They started at the exact same time, which was a lot to handle because there was no playbook of how to handle viral fame. And especially when you're, 21 years old, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was doing with life. And now you have all of these eyes on you, while I'm also trying to navigate playing professional golf for the first time, which I also have a very complicated relationship with. And so I did not handle it well, to say the least. Constant breakdowns. It was just a lot to deal with. And there was no one who had done this before me to look to seek advice. And so I was just really figuring it out as I was going. And so after a year of playing professionally, I couldn't handle it. I was doing both of them. I wasn't doing either of them particularly all that well. It was also hard to deal with a ton of negativity around my golf game, and I took that very personally. And so I said, hey, I'm going to take a little bit of time off. I'll lean into media and just see how that feels, and maybe I can make some money where I can stop doing that and then lean into golf full time and play professionally. And a couple weeks of not playing golf professionally, I was like, okay, I'm going to do media full time now. I'm much better suited for this. I'm significantly happier. And I think that this is the path that I should go down, which I'm so happy that I'm able to do what I love every single day. But there is some heartache of putting your head on the pillow at night and going, I wanted to play golf professionally, but I failed at that. And that's just something that I have to come to terms with, and something that I deal with, every single day still.
It's interesting for you to share how quickly, literally overnight, the level of attention you were getting. And look, everybody's ego to varying degrees needs to be massaged at times. And it's great to get attention. It's different to be watched, which I think at times people like yourself probably feel that. And also with attention, Paige, as you know, comes resentment. And that resentment, you can start to hear that. You can feel that. What has that been like, and how have you adapted to that and managed levels of resentment that I know you've experienced over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years?
Yes. So when I first started doing this, I was met with a lot of resentment and hate because it was something that was different. And I came into this with a brand that is not everyone's cup of tea. And so majority of the attention that I received was negative attention. And so I had to fight that for years of my career of trying to prove who I am as a player, but also who I am as a person, because my character was often questioned because of what I loved to wear. And I think that actually upon reflection now, I think that is why I've had such a long lasting career in media, which doesn't happen too often because of, people going viral every time. There's always someone new that you can watch. It's because I did come up with a ton of hate. It's so much easier to let people get to know you and they learn to love you in a way. And so the last 10 years from going from everyone feeling like they hate you to actually being more positive year after year after year has really helped me. I think it's hard when you come into doing any type of social media and you were beloved right away, because there is going to be a point where you're not the cool, the popular, you're not authentic anymore. It's so much harder being loved in the beginning and then learning how to deal with hate, where I learned how to deal with hate very early on. And now I'm actually getting positive feedback. And it's like, this is fantastic. And not saying that my journey was ever easy. It was very difficult. And I think if you look back, I struggled with how to deal with that, and what to say and what not to say, and what to do and what not to do. And ultimately, I just learned that, not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. And as a people pleaser, that's really hard for me to come to terms with. But that's what's so fun about social media, is that there's so many difference of opinions. And I think that I have so much more support than I do hate. And I always just try to focus on that.
With all this opportunity, which you have a lot of, comes choices. And one of the choices you've made is to align yourself with this content creating council with the PGA Tour. And I'm sure when you started this, you went, at one point I'm going to be giving advice to the PGA Tour. And now here you are in this collective, people who have voice, who have an audience. Where are we with that? Have you guys gotten together? Give everybody an idea of the impact that this council can have on the overall product and the ancillary things around the PGA Tour.
It's so crazy that I'm a part of this Creator Council. When I first started doing this, it wasn't cool to do social media and golf, and it was kind of looked down on. And so for the progression of golf social media to get to where it is today and to have this role is such an honor, and I'm so excited. We've had a couple meetings, and there's things that we're working on that I am so excited to hopefully be able to share soon. But it's been just awesome to be able to be with this group of people where we all just want to really grow the game of golf and create entertaining, fun content for golf lovers. And I think that we're going to have a big impact, and I'm excited for what we can do.
You and I, and you probably won't remember this, we had one small conversation in the Morning Drive studios some years ago. And Paige, I'll never forget, one of the things you said to me was, I'm finding my voice. And you clearly have. And that is a reflection of a lot of things, one of which is confidence. Your relationship with Bryson DeChambeau, your willingness to be critical of him, and then finding common ground and sharing space and doing things that people consumed. What is finding your voice taught you about you?
That's such a great question. And I've been on such a journey of self-love and self-discovery over these past 10 years. And I think it had to be sped up because of being in the public eye and being so criticized and scrutinized for, everything that I was doing in the golf industry. And it really came down to self-love. When I first started doing this, like I said, and prove that I was all of these things. And I just realized that I won't make every single person happy. And so I've really had to learn to love myself and also love what I do. I have a community that gets my content. And even though that's not for everyone, I'm not trying to always appeal to everyone. I think that's where creators go wrong, is that you want your content to appeal to every single person. And I've just found my community that gets my sense of humor. And at the end of the day, what I've realized is that this is not so serious, and that's okay. I think there's so much pressure on being taken seriously. And now it's like I create silly, fun content. There is so much bad in the world that when people come to my page, they're going to see something that's going to put a smile on their face. And if it's silly and it's not that serious, then that is okay. That is the goal. And just coming to terms with that is something that I think has really helped me. And it's okay if people don't have the best opinions or they like what I do. As long as I put a smile on at least one person's face, then I feel like I'm doing my job. And I always try to remember that with every single piece of content that I put out. And that's also come with being less criticizing players and people, and because I've been through it. And so, for example, with like Bryson DeChambeau, supporting him and being a place where I can uplift others and use my platform for good. And like I said, just put a smile on someone's face is all what I'm trying to do every single day.
All right, let's get Paige Spiranac out of here with 5 to go. Like you said, it's about fun, a little levity to end with her on this Wednesday. All right, tell us, Paige, the current show you're binging or consuming on a regular basis. What show are you into right now?
I have one episode left of Yellowstone, and that has been consuming my life.
Very good. I'm done with it. I don't think you will be dissatisfied if you've consumed all of it, which I think you did. All right, the last day you didn't spend a moment on social media.
Oh my gosh. Maybe when I was 15 and I didn't have a cell phone.
Like when you go on vacation, you can't just totally unplug?
You know, it's my job and I'm always connected to my work. And so I am always connected to social media, which means I'm always working.
All right. The city or country that you've never been to that you either know you're going to this year or you're determined to get to?
I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. I've never been there, and I've heard that they have amazing golf courses. I don't know if that's going to be on the list this year, but that is for sure on my bucket list.
All right. And then would you rather get up really early or be forced to stay up really late?
Really early all day long. When it hits 7 p.m., I get excited because I'm like, okay, I only have like an hour and a half, 2 hours until I can go to sleep.
Amen. Preach, preach. 8:30, I'm like, there's no reason to keep the lights on.
I'm like, I want to go to bed now, but it's not socially acceptable, so I got to stay up just a little bit longer.
I honestly think after 7, it's acceptable. All right, last thing, the food item that makes you queasy to either hear just the name, smell it, or see it.
I am pretty good with food. I'll eat almost everything except for mushrooms. I am just not a big mushroom girl, which is weird because my favorite food is a corn dog, and I think most people would find that more grotesque than a mushroom, but yeah, not a big mushroom fan.
Listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I hope at some point our paths will cross. Continued success. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Paige Spiranac. Everybody who we think is significant in the industry of golf is going to be heard right here at 5 Clubs.